Hello, and welcome to Recipes with Ben. In today's video, I'm going to show you how easy it is to make homemade garlic and rosemary bread. This rustic loaf is packed with flavor and has a crunchy exterior for the crust and a soft, airy, and chewy interior of the bread. So to begin, you'll need to wake up the yeast. So in a large bowl, add 2 teaspoons of baker's yeast, and then to that add 1 teaspoon of sugar, which will act as the food source for the yeast. Then for the yeast to be at optimum temperature, heat up 1 1/4 cup of water to between 100 and 110 degrees Fahrenheit, and add that to the sugar yeast mixture and give the solution a stir to help dissolve the sugar into the water. Then let the yeast munch on the sugar for about 10 to 15 minutes, and if the yeast is happy and healthy, it should look like this on the top of the water after about 10 minutes. Then to the yeast, add in 2 teaspoons of salt, followed by 10 cloves or about 1 head of garlic, and 5 sprigs of diced fresh rosemary. Next, add in 3 cups of bread flour, which is about 360 grams if you're using a scale. And if you don't have a stand mixer, you can use a spoon and mix the dough until it becomes shaggy. But since I have a stand mixer, I'm going to use the dough hook attachment and knead that for a few minutes until the dough becomes shaggy, and then it'll transition to becoming sticky. At this time, stream in 1 tablespoon of vegetable oil and knead that for about 2 to 3 more minutes. After that time, it should not stick to the edge of the bowl, but the dough itself will still be very sticky. Then to proof the dough, add a lid on top of it and place that in a warm place for about 2 hours. I recommend using your oven with the oven light on, but if it's warm enough in your house, it's fine to leave it out on the bench top. After that time, the dough will become very bubbly and probably doubled in size. So it's time to shape the dough. So to begin doing that, flour a work surface, such as a cutting board, thoroughly with flour, and then scoop the dough onto the floured work surface. At this point, you're trying not to knock out all of the air, so do this very gently. Then begin flouring every part of the dough and begin shaping it into a large disc by cupping your hands towards the under part of the dough and flouring your hands and the dough as needed so it doesn't stick to itself. Once you have the desired shape, using a bench scraper, transfer the dough onto a piece of parchment paper and cover the dough with a towel and let it proof for an additional 30 minutes. While the dough is proofing, it's important to go turn on the oven and preheat it to 450 degrees. At that same time, you're going to want to add in a Dutch oven with the lid and allow that to heat up with the oven over this time. After proofing for 30 minutes, remove the towel from the dough and score an X across the top of the dough, which will help control what steam escapes while it bakes. Then it's time to remove the Dutch oven from the hot oven using some kind of protection such as oven mitts, and then pick up the parchment paper from the corners and place that into the Dutch oven. Before baking, it's important to sprinkle some water over the top of the dough, or if you have it, use a spray bottle with some water and spray the top of the dough, and then place the lid on top of that pot. Then bake it with the lid on for about 30 minutes at 450 degrees. After 30 minutes, remove the lid from the pot and spray that again with some more water and allow that to cook for an additional 10 to 20 minutes until the top becomes nice and golden brown. Once it's baked, remove it from the oven, and then being very careful not to burn yourself when you remove the bread from the Dutch oven, as it will be extremely hot from sitting in the oven for almost an hour. You can use the parchment paper to help remove it from the pot. After you remove it from the pot, the parchment paper can be discarded. Then allow the bread to cool for at least 20 minutes before cutting into it. And now, a trick I've picked up while watching all of the seasons of the Great British Baking Show is that the bread loaf, when flipped over, if you tap on the bottom, it should sound hollow, which should sound something like this. That'll say the dough is not raw inside and completely cooked. And after 20 minutes, using a serrated bread knife, cut into the loaf and see a perfectly baked bread that's packed with flavor. This bread should be crisp and crunchy on the exterior and soft and airy in the center. This bread is great on its own, or you can go a toasted route with some butter or pair it with your favorite soup as a side. So with all that said, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this bread recipe, and smash that like button if any of this was helpful. And don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss on the next video, and I'll see you again soon.